Hey, I've heard it said that the thing that causes people to grow in their lives is the people they hang out with, the places that they go, and the books that they read. Now that's also true, but probably you could throw in movies, video, other, TV, other content. But suffice it to say is that when you're going to grow is you're going to have new experiences in those three areas. So today I want to talk about a wonderful book by Dan Sullivan called The 4C Formula. This book is now on my top all-time favorites list. It's probably in the top five for nonfiction. And it's a fabulous book, and it's something that I have been leaning to a lot over the last year. Actually, I've only known about it for a little over a year, but this book has absolutely helped change my life in the areas of personal growth. So I hope you enjoyed today as we're going to dig into some golden nuggets of this book. And so let's discuss. Hi, I'm Pat Batchelor, and this is the DIY Engineering Career Builder Podcast. With 25 years as an engineer and 10 as an engineering recruiter, I'm now stepping into the role of job search and career coach. I want to help you find a job in half the time and have fun doing it. Whether you're looking for your first job right out of college, your next job, or perhaps one day even your dream job, I'm here to guide you to the next step. This would be fun, entertaining, educational, and most importantly for you, empowering. So let's get started. Hi, welcome to the show. I'm excited about this one, but before we jump into the 4C Formula by Dan Sullivan, I just want to encourage you, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so let's jump in. And I want to share with you a couple of nuggets about the 4C formula and why I think it's so important. So here's another look at the book. And one of the cool things about this book is, first of all, it's short. It is a small book. You can read it in an afternoon, but it will take a lifetime to practice. I think there's actually on YouTube, and I'll put a link right here. There's a link. If you want to go look at it, you can watch this. It's about an 8-minute video. Once you listen to the video, Dan does a great job of explaining the 4C formula. But when you read the book, and I just even started reading it again today, and it talks about how when we're growing, when we're trying something new, we have to take these 4 steps right here. And I'm going to show those on there. But the first step is commitment. So this particularly, again, we're going to talk about this in just life in general. His, I think, is tailored towards entrepreneurs. But entrepreneurs, they just have a habit of trying new things. That's how you grow in life, is by trying something new. One of the things that I'm excited about that I've tried and learned just in the last 3 months is how to edit this video using iMovie. It's been great. It's been fun, and my goodness, I was kind of scared, and I was just like, you know what? I've got to do this. So I've really enjoyed the process. But so the 4C formula, and the reason why it's so important is because it's going to help you take the next step in your career, the next step in your job search, the next step in anything you want to do. In your job search, you're going to have to take these 4 steps. And so let's discuss the 4 steps that Dan talks about in his 4C formula. Okay, step 1, commitment. You have to just say, you know what? I don't know how to find a job. I'm not sure how to find a job. I don't have the capabilities. I feel scared. I'm worried, but I'm going to find a job. And then you make a decision and you say, I'm going to do what it takes. Not sure what it takes, but I'm going to do what it takes to start the job search process. And if you make that decision and say, I'm going to make this decision, I'm going to find a job, I'm going to land a job, then you're off to the races. And so that's the first commitment. But the problem with that commitment is the very first thing you're going to hit is people are going to say, well, how do you do it? And you go, I don't have a clue. I know that I'm hitting apply. That doesn't work. So what's the next thing? Well, the next thing is, if you take a look, and down below, there's a link to the 1 in 1,000 course. And I'll just encourage you, sign up for the 1 in 1,000 course. The link is there. And the reason why I'm going to encourage you to do it is it's going to help you separate yourself from 1,000 other engineers who do nothing but apply online. And if you'll just take it's a simple formula, it's a simple step, it's not complicated, but it does take courage. And that's step 2. You have to have courage. You have to have initiative. You have to have the ability and the desire. And of course, where's that desire come from? Because it's scary. Talking to a president of a company when you're an entry-level engineer is kind of scary. You're like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Don't worry about what you're going to say. Just reach out. So you're going to have to take some courage, and you're going to have to step into some things that aren't quite as simple or as easy as that you might think. So keep working, keep stepping out, keep doing the things that you need to do in order to find a job. And those are listed in that 1 in 1,000 course. So it's going to take courage. So that's step 2. And courage is hard to sometimes define because you're like, well, it doesn't feel good. And no, it doesn't feel good because you're scared. You're like, well, if I pick up the phone and I make a phone call and they turn me down, then they'll never call me back. And I'm just like, don't worry, they'll call you back. If they're interested in you, they'll call you back. So just keep moving forward and keep doing the 1 in 1,000 technique. So that's step 2 is courage. Step 3, and I'll show it right here. Step 3, capabilities. And that might be the capabilities that you're going to need to know in order to find a job, or several. One, look up on Indeed and hit apply. That's one step. Then the next step might be, okay, well, where'd that resume go? Who is on the other end of that? And that's where you search, and that's part of the job search is who ended up with the resume. So this course will teach you how to figure out, well, it might be these 2 or 3 people or that person. Is that the right person or should I be calling that person? And it talks about that. It's a wonderful course. But you're going to need to learn that capability. So when you hit apply, where does it go? When you hit apply, how do I find that person? And then how do you follow up with them? How do you reach out and connect with that person in a meaningful, thoughtful, slightly intrusive but not obnoxious way to let them know, hey, did you get my resume? And of course the answer is going to be, what? No, I don't know who you are. What job did you apply for? And that, and that's just these days, just getting noticed is one of the hardest things to do. 3 is capability. It's learning to grow in the skills that you need to land a job. And here's what the beauty of this course is once you learn these skills, these are going to be skills that you're going to be able to refine and practice and use for the rest of your life. So capability of doing a job search is sometimes very challenging. Just keep practicing. You keep talking to people. You keep making phone calls. You keep connecting. You keep in front. You keep presenting yourself and why you're a fabulous candidate at any stage of your life, whether you're entry level, mid-level, or you're looking for the dream job. Those are the ways that these are the techniques that you're going to use at every stage of your career. So you have to have first, commitment, second, courage, third, capability. After all of those, that puts you finally in a place where you go, you know what, I've got this. And you go, I know how to do a job search, and I know how to get found, and I know how to present myself professionally. And once you get to that spot, it's called confidence. And so you have confidence. And so then when you're confident, you just go, oh, yeah, sure, I can do that. And you're ready to go. Because here's the thing, and I just kind of tell people, I said, if you're an engineer, if you're in any profession in the United States, just think of how many different professions don't exist this year that did last year when COVID hit. Last year, there was cruise ship director. There was airline pilot. I mean, there was all kinds of jobs, people on Broadway, actors, actresses, all of those people got shut out. People who were in the restaurant industry thought, man, I'm never going to have to worry about finding a job. They were looking for jobs. So let's look at it this way. Don't be surprised if at some point in your career you find yourself unemployed. And if you're in this gig economy, you might find yourself unemployed. I don't know. Sometimes contract jobs, they may be anywhere from 6 weeks, 6 months to 2 years. So you call it an average of 1 year. And then you say, okay, well then if that's 1 year and your career lasts 45 years, if you're a contract labor, you're going to be looking for a job 45 times. So why not learn the skills in this course so that you can take each of those times off where, the first time it might be, you have 2 or 3 months between gigs. The next time you have, you call up a recruiter that you've developed a relationship with. And next thing you know, it's only a month and a half. And then the next time it's, you've got 5 recruiters and you make the connections with those. And then the next time it's like 2 weeks. And the next one's like, and then they start calling you up going, hey, Pat, you've got 45 days left on your contract. You interested in the next job? Yeah, put me down for March 5th. And then you don't even miss a weekend. Why? Because you've developed a relationship and you've shown you're a professional. And so they have you on the calendar and they just go, okay, Pat's about ready to roll off. Where are we going to put him? And that's how it works. It's so great. So here's the thing. It takes those 4 steps. It takes commitment, courage, capabilities, and then you develop confidence in your job searching skills. So that's what happens when you're doing job search. Now, I want to show you a fun little story that I wrote. And I'll just tell you the story. So about my granddaughter was born about 3 years ago. And the very first day we walk in to get to see her for the first time, I pick her up, a whole little baby, and it was just it was idyllic time. And I'm holding her and I start telling her a Cowboy Bob story. Now, Cowboy Bob, he was a story that I made up, but my kids, when they were young, they wanted, when they're about ready to go to sleep, they got 3 kids and they're all like, Daddy, tell us a story. And so I made up a story about Cowboy Bob. And so when I was holding my baby granddaughter, I said, you know what? And my son's wife looked at me like, what's he talking about? And he goes, oh, don't worry, it's Cowboy Bob. And she goes, what? And I go, yeah, So that night I'm sitting here going, I may not be around that little girl that often when she's growing up to be able to tell her a Cowboy Bob story. So I want to write a children's story about Cowboy Bob. So I wait, so I made a decision. Boom. I'm going to write a book, a children's book, because I wasn't confident enough I could write a big book, but I could write a children's book. Surely you could at least write the words. So I wrote the words out, and over about the next month and a half, I'd be up in a hockey game would be on or something, and I would be working on and trying to, work on it. And I finished the manuscript. I was like, okay, it's done. Now what? Well, you need pictures. And so what did I do? I went on LinkedIn and I typed in graphic designer because LinkedIn's not always just for work related. You have relationships with all kinds of people. Well, one of them was a wonderful lady named Janie Owen Bew. And I had known her from high school. We hadn't talked in like 20 something years or 30 years. And I went, oh, maybe she could help me. Reached out to her on LinkedIn. She goes, Pat, that's what I do. I do children's books. I do all kinds of things. I know an artist down in Honduras. Great. And we can absolutely do it. So over the period, so think about it. I made a decision. Now, I didn't have enough courage. So the second step was courage. And if you look down below here, you'll see that I didn't go into the courage with, telling all my friends and family, hey guys, I'm writing a children's book. No, I didn't tell my friends and family because I had about this much courage. Just a little courage. So I nipped the corner of courage and I went over to capability. I wrote the story. I called up a friend. I talked to her. She said, Pat, we can absolutely do this. We got the graphics done. We went back and forth and finally we produced a book and it's great. And you can buy it. And here's the link on Amazon.com. If you want to buy it on Amazon right there. And so then I had the capabilities. I knew how to write a story. I knew who to talk to. I didn't know how to do all the other things, but I did know who to talk to, which was Janie. So I called her up. Next thing you know, 8 months later, we've got a book. And I went, oh, that was easy. I could write a sequel now. And it kind of is begging for a sequel, but I haven't finished it. I hadn't even started the sequel because it's just not been the most important thing to me. But if I want to, I absolutely got the confidence to say, I know how to write a book. What? I wrote a book. I'm an author. I'm a published author. Okay, they didn't pay me, so I'm not really a serious published author. But I wrote a book, and it took courage. And then here's the fun part: was I finally finished the book, and I went in to my wife and my mother-in-law friend Tony, and I said, "Hey guys, guess what?" And they were like, "What?" I wrote a book, and they were like, "What?" Said, I wrote a children's book. And they're like, really? I go, yeah, and it's going to be published next week. And here's a copy. And they just went. And now, why did I do that? Because sometimes that courage piece is really hard. And you're not sure that you can do what you've made a commitment to do. So sometimes telling your family and your friends, hey, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try and do something that's way outside my comfort zone. I'm going to produce a podcast. I'm going to be on YouTube. I'm going to write a new book. I'm going to get a degree in engineering. I'm going to land a job. Once you tell people that they're all kind of sitting back going, okay, yeah, sure. Show us how it's done. Yeah, you're kind of uppity, but go ahead, try and show us what's going on. And I don't know. It's just sometimes people can rain on your parade. And they can just kind of convince you before you even get to the courage stage, oh, don't do that. It's a cat kicking world. People don't want you to be successful. Is it true? I don't know. But for me, my self-confidence as an author was just not there. And so I had to decide, am I going to write a children's book for my granddaughter? Well, the answer was, I'm going to try. And so the courage part came at the very, very, very end. Now, I had a little bit, just enough to keep at it, which was apparently enough. You don't have to have a ton of confidence or courage, but you have to have just enough to keep going when it's hard and you don't know what to do. And you're going, I'm trying to do something I've never done before. But you do it. And then finally, I had the book, and then I was like, oh yeah, I wrote a book, and they're like, oh great, well, you can tell your friends and your family after you've published, after you've written a book, after you've done a podcast, after you've done a YouTube channel, all of those things, you tell them afterwards. Not only afterwards, maybe afterwards, and when there's still more, you've got enough credibility in there where you can go, okay, I'm an author. So when you go into a job search, you're going to have 4 things, those 4 areas figured out. And again, those are commitment, courage, capability, and then you have the confidence. So check out Dan's book. The podcast, here's a link right here. I'll put one down below. And I would just encourage you, check out the video and as well, buy the book. And the book is, again, it's called The 4C Formula. It's a fabulous book. And one of the good things is that, for us engineers, there's lots of pictures. Because, hey, we're engineers, it can't be that hard if it's got all those pictures, So the concepts aren't hard, but they can be life-changing, especially when you're moving into an area you've never done it before. Think about it. I remember when I was taking mechanics materials, it was kind of a second semester. It was a sophomore level course or maybe a junior level course. And I was taking the course and I was sitting there and I was solving problems and I was just like, oh, and I just automatically went back and I went, wait a second. This has a little bit of statics, some dynamics. It has some calculus in it. And all of a sudden I went, man, I didn't know any of that stuff. And I'm just kind of playing around with it. It's like tools in a toolbox. If you've never used them, you're not supposed to be competent in it. But if you start using them, you go, oh yeah, that's mechanics materials issue, and here's how you solve that statics problem. What? So the steps that you took in college, you were doing it when you said, I'm going to make a choice to go to college and get a college degree. Why? Because you wanted to get a job when you got out, being an engineer, solving problems, making the world a better place. And so it took you had to invest. And you had to invest not just time, but money, blood, sweat, and tears. They don't give away engineering. But then when they do, don't get tripped up in finding a job and thinking it's that hard. It ain't that hard. It takes work, but it ain't that hard to find a job. Look, companies out there right now are absolutely looking for good, talented people who want to show up, who know how to do the 4 C's, learn something new, be on a team, be involved, and get a job done. They're dying for people, for good, talented people. So you need to be a professional engineer and show yourself as a professional, and then go out and talk to them. So again, don't forget, the 1 in 1,000 course is down below. Sign up. You're going to love it. It's a great little course. And while you're at it, go out and buy Dan's book right there. The 4C Formula by Dan Sullivan. This book can change your life. So that's all for today. I hope you've enjoyed this unique little podcast as we talk about some of my favorite books. So until next time, take care. God bless. Be safe. Do good work. See you next time. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Every episode is my goal is to make this podcast fun, entertaining, educational, and empowering. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to get information on how to update your LinkedIn profile, visit www.diybjs.com. So that's all for today. Be safe, have a great week, and we'll see you next time. God bless you. Bye-bye.